What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Six-Man Show. It is April 19th, 2021. As always, I'm joined by the man, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just the more, I was talking to you about this the other day, but we were so, antsy is the only word I can think of for the trade deadline. That's what we were. We were the epitome of that. And now that the trade deadline has happened, the Magic have a new look. The young guys look good. Everybody's kind of came back down to earth, and the sky's not falling anymore. All I can think about now is lottery night. We talked about this, obviously, and we're going to continue to talk about it because it is going to be one of the biggest nights in Magic, in Magic history, basically, because the lottery will determine, if the Magic will get a future franchise player. That's kind of just all I've been thinking about, Jonathan, to be honest with you. I'm running a lot of, Tankathon. I'm running one every day. I'm looking at Tankathon's Twitter, and they're releasing, ones that they do and all that stuff. We were talking to our best friend Drew about this, but he was saying, he said, I get the Magic as the first pick and then the Bulls not in the top four. And then I'm thinking we're going to get the seventh pick. I don't know. Where's your optimism at with as far as the draft lottery goes?
Well, so we beat the Bulls Wednesday night, and then Thursday it comes out that Zach LaVine has now been placed into the health and safety protocols, meaning either he's come in contact with someone that has COVID or he has COVID himself. And we're looking at the Bulls, and as of right now, they are 4-6 in their last 10. Right now, they would be 8th in the lottery if everything went according to plan. The pick would convey to the Magic. But the Bulls right now have a 23.5% chance of ending up in the top 4, Luke. That's roughly once out of every 4 lottery sims that you run, the Bulls should end up in the top 4. The pick would not go to the Magic. It would go back to the Bulls. And then the Magic would get the Bulls pick for next year, and then it would be top 3 protected. Mm-hmm. So I kind of threw it out there Thursday that if this pick this year does not convey to the Magic, do you hold any blame to the front office? Do you lay any blame at the feet of John and Jeff? And I want to say on Twitter it was 60% no and close to 30-40% yes. On Instagram it was cut right down the middle. It was 50-50 on whether or not you would lay any blame on the front office if that pick doesn't convey. I can completely admit I was in full-on panic mode when I realized that Zach LaVine is going to be out probably for 2 weeks. The Bulls have already been terrible. They're not going to get better losing Zach LaVine. And 15, 16 games that everybody has left to go, the Bulls right now are only 3 games up on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who right now sit at 5th with the Magic sitting at 4th. 16 games, you're going to be missing Zach LaVine for 2 weeks, so probably anywhere between 7 to 8 games roughly. And you're only 3 games up between 8 and 5. I'm a little bit worried, I will admit. Now, some folks have come out and said, the statistical probabilities and blah, 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 blah. It's still a low probability that will end up happening to the Magic. But, Luke, you and I have been talking about this, that seeing Vooch on Chicago, playing with Zach LaVine, and then seeing them play with someone like a Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green would just be the stone cold stunner on top of the kick to the nuts that this year has been, starting with, if you go back to the bubble of the tear of the ACL of Jonathan Isaac and then Markelle Fultz, all of the injuries that have happened since then. It's just been one thing after another the last 8-9 months as a Magic fan. So I'm pretty worried. I'm pretty concerned, probably irrationally so. But what are you going to do? That's me.
Yeah, well, what you're going to do, Jonathan, is you're going to box score watch every Chicago Bulls game, as right now, actually, the Bulls are up 5 with 7 minutes to go against the Boston Celtics, where the Celtics were favored to win the game because, obviously, Zach LaVine not playing, and the Celtics do have Tatum and Brown. So, and to no one's surprise, Jonathan, Nikola Vucevic is having to do it all. I wonder if it feels familiar for Vucevic right now. He has 25 and 8, 11 from 20 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. I mean, he's doing it all. Hopefully that they can win the game, because I'm already nervous about the Magic's pick, Jonathan. I really don't want to be nervous about the Bulls pick. And what I'll say about, if I will put blame on the front office if the pick doesn't convey, I probably won't. That's just me. I've told you this before. Until the front office really screws us over, this front office specifically, I'm not going to put blame on something that they probably did run the data. They did run the percentages and all that stuff and said, okay, it's safe to put a top 4 protected on this. And the Bulls were saying, we want to put a top 4 protected because because in a crazy year, who knows if Zach LaVine is going to have to go out, and who knows who's going to have to go out. So maybe that's what they were thinking. They were covering themselves, and then Orlando is thinking, from just an analytical standpoint, statistically speaking, we should be good to do this. We're just going to do it just so they have, a safety net. And then, if we don't get it, it's not like they don't get the pick back, but it won't even be a lottery pick at that point next year if the Bulls were to get this one. Because LaVine, Vooch, and a Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green, I just don't think that's not a lottery team next year, I don't think. So, especially when Vooch has more time under his belt, more games played with that group, they kind of get the chemistry down. They're starting to look for him on pops and trailing and, from 3 and all that. So yeah, I think both front offices knew what they were doing when they put that top 4 protected and they agreed on it. And until proven otherwise, like I said, I'm going to continue to rock with front office and not really put blame in those situations. So we'll see. And, nothing's guaranteed. So that is why it's a lottery.
So speaking of scoreboard watching, so we're recording this just after 9 o'clock. It's about 9:20 right now Eastern time. Cavs and Pistons tied at 100 apiece, 2 minutes, 36 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Rockets are up 1 on the Heat at halftime, Luke. So we'll have to keep an eye on those two scores. If the Pistons win tonight, Luke, the Magic and the Pistons would both be tied at 18 and 40 on the season. So, or excuse me, Detroit would be 18 and 40. Orlando would be 18 and 39. So we're at that point a half game out of the 3 spots,
which is big
really
because it hasn't been a half since I can remember. It's been teetering between 1 to 3 games, I feel like, for the last few months or 2 months, month or so. So the fact that it could get within a half game, I mean, that would be really big. I hate that. You ever get caught thinking about wow, I all things aside, injuries and all that stuff, which obviously played the huge factor in this, but it's the team we cheer for really is a bottom 4 team in the league pretty soundly. And they might be worse than that. But there's a lot more to that, obviously. And, J.I., Markelle, all those guys out, not too worried. But there is those moments where I'm like, wow, we are one of the worst teams in the league, and it's not even close.
Well, if it hadn't been for Vooch literally having the best year of his career, we would definitely be worse than bottom 4 right now. You could argue we'd be, 1 or possibly even 2, as the Pistons are up 146 to go. Going to be watching that like crazy. But, yeah, I mean, not to mention 2 weeks from now, we actually play the Pistons. So if this gets any closer and it stays like that and these games continue to go the way they've been going, that May 3rd game is going to be pretty important when it comes to talking about the lottery odds and everything like that. And going back to talking about laying blame at the feet of the front office, you're 100% right, and I have been talked off the ledge. I will agree to that. I will concede that I was a little bit paranoid. But at the end of the day, if the Bulls end up with a 23% chance of getting into the top 4, they still have a 77% chance of not ending up in the top 4. So the odds are still in our favor, but over the last 9 years or so in the draft lottery, we've seen the odds play against us again and again. 2014, you talk about being one spot away from being able to select Joel Embiid. 2015, you're one spot away from being able to draft Kristaps Porzingis, which that career has not gone the way that it had looked the first couple of years in the league, mostly due to injury. But I think we could all agree that we would much rather have Kristaps Porzingis right now than Mario Hezonja. You talk about 2017, Sacramento, who had won 2 more games than us, jumps up to second. Now they take freaking Marvin Bagley, which will just forever be frowned upon. But they could have taken Luka Doncic. They could have taken Trae Young. So forgive me if I'm a little bit scarred and battered as a Magic fan in the lottery luck that we have had the last 9 years or so. I was talking to a coworker of mine about it today, and I'm just talking about the rough lottery luck that we've had recently. He's like, give me a freaking break. You guys had Shaq, then you drafted Penny, then you had Dwight. He's like, I'm a Knicks fan. All right, we've had it rough lately, so I guess we don't have too much to complain about, Luke, but let's get into the weekly state of the Orlando Magic, and then we'll start to break down the happenings of this week. So your Orlando Magic as of today sit with a record of 18 wins, 39 losses, which is good for 14th place in the Eastern Conference. They are 5.5 games out of the play-in game, which seems like it's 50 games away. The Magic have the 4th worst record in the league as of right now. As of right now, they are just 1 game up on the Detroit Pistons for the 3rd worst record in the league, who, again, the Magic play May 3rd in Detroit. At 5-16 since the All-Star break, Luke, only the Houston Rockets have a worse record than Orlando with a record of 4-19, and we're going to throw it to Luke for the injury report.
So Otto Porter Jr. Remains out with that foot injury. He's only played in 3 games since trade deadline. I wanted to ask you, in terms of Otto Porter, he's expiring. So just kind of wondering what your thoughts are. I mean, the more that Otto Porter is out due to injury, we've only got, 16 games left on the schedule. I wonder if that gives him less time to really prove a worth to the front office and makes it even easier for the front office to be, hey, thanks for your, 3, whatever, how many games is at that point that you will have played. That you played for us. See you later. Because he's been kind of less than impressive since he's been with Orlando. 8 points a game, 11% from the 3-point line on 3 attempts. He averaged 0.8 more 3-point attempts in Chicago, but shot 40%, and then shot 8% better from the field on about the same amount of field goal attempts, where he shot 44% in Chicago, 36% in Orlando, averaging about the same amount of minutes per game. Obviously, 3 games, small sample size. There's a lot of chemistry problems, stuff like that. But I do wonder if that kind of contributes to the front office being more willing to let go come off season.
I think it has to. I mean, you look back to 2017, 2018 season. Otto Porter plays and starts in 77 games. 2018, 2019 only plays 56 games. 2019, 2020 plays in 2019, 2020 plays in 14 games, and then this year he's only played in 28 games. So he's just at this point seems like a guy who cannot stay healthy, as bad as that sounds. And with the amount of money that he's making, and I'm sure the amount of money that he's hoping to make in the offseason, given his position, you've got Chuma Okeke coming back, you've got Jonathan Isaac, other guys that you might want to bring back, perhaps like a James Ennis. I don't know that Otto, I don't think any of us thought that the Magic were going to re-sign Otto after this year, but he was looking at, like a 25-game-ish tryout with the Magic if he was able to stay healthy. It doesn't look like that's the case. Maybe you mix in some of the fact that perhaps there's some front office finagling happening with manipulating the roster and they want to keep him out for tanking purposes maybe. I don't know, but I don't think Otto Porter comes back next year.
Yeah, so continuing with that injury report, you've got James Ennis, who is currently day-to-day with that sore calf. He missed Sunday's game against the Rockets. T. Ross is day-to-day. He tweaked his back, and, Cliff had kind of addressed that again today and just said, his back shot, basically, is what it sounded like. And then MCW also day-to-day, expected to miss several games after that ankle sprain he had Wednesday against the Bulls, which, by the way, was atrocious. And then... Okay, so guys, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Every week, Jonathan writes out this injury report. All right, and he he didn't need to do this, what I'm about to tell you. He didn't need to. He just wanted to kind of stick it in and just twist it into my side. He put J.I. and Markel out. So thank you
Are they
for
not?
that, Jonathan.
Are they not?
We know
They're
this.
out.
We know
I'm
this,
just going
Jonathan.
through the
I have
injury report
nightmares
here.
every night. I
Just
have
trying to do my
nightmares
job.
every night. Yeah, so thanks for that, Jonathan. Yeah, so then, the last of that, guys, in case you were wondering, J.I. and Markel, they're out. And in case you didn't hear it was an ACL. So there's that.
Oh, my gosh. I just still can't get over the fact that, like, if Markel Fultz doesn't tear his ACL, we probably don't see the domino effect that has happened this year, which it's got to be divine intervention at this point. This is just like God is like, you're going to have a terrible season. At the end of all this crappiness, you're going to be rewarded with a title. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So,
well, you said that, like, Markel's domino effect after this, guys. We're going to get into our weekly tankathon spin of the wheel. And Jonathan, regardless of how inconvenient it is, he's going to put on that tanking hat, which has been bruised and battered, and we'll talk about that. But no, AG actually was it an article in The Athletic where I don't really want to get into that too much, but he did say, alluding to that domino effect that Markel's injury had. I would have loved to have continued basically to play with a healthy Markel, a healthy Jonathan Isaac. And so that just kind of solidified that, things would have been different. AG wouldn't have requested that trade. But that's the way of the game. That's kind of the luck of the draw for the Magic in the past, year and a half, I guess. Losing J.I. to the ACL and then Markel the same. So, yeah, there definitely was that domino effect. It is crazy to think about where the team would be. But to be honest, if none of that happens, I do wonder if the Magic are just another 7-8 seed, and we don't get the ball rolling this quickly. So it kind of has been, a little bit of a blessing there because we don't know what the team would have been like. But this year, I mean, we get to see kind of where it all plays out, put all of the chips on the table, and they're riding with the young guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on lottery night. That being said, Jonathan, unless you have things to add, just go ahead and slap that bad boy on. Let's get to that tankathon.
I really don't want. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set it up on my head here, and I'm just gonna hold it on my head. This looks way more ridiculous, but it's way more comfortable than trying to hold the headphones on while I try to do this. What I will say is, with a healthy Markel, like I think we're easily like 5th or 6th in the East, at least this year. And then with Jonathan Isaac this year, we're probably looking at like a 4 or 5
win the
seed.
championship.
Well, maybe not. Maybe we won't go that far. As the Pistons are up 2 with 29 seconds left. Let's go, Detroit. They really screwed us over the other night.
They're up 4.
So they're up 4. Thanks a lot,
Up
Google,
4.
for nothing.
Yeah, I'm on ESPN's
That's
at 4 with 16 seconds left. Josh Jackson
Let's
had a
go,
shot.
baby.
Called timeout. So
Let's
everybody
go.
listening is like, guys, I already know the Pistons won or lost.
That's
so
fire.
I don't know why we're doing this, but
All right.
it's true.
Up
the Pistons
4,
are gonna,
16 seconds left. They better
Fingers
not blow it.
crossed.
All right. Going to go ahead and share the screen here. And then, Luke, tell me, are you able to see the screen here?
Yeah, I gotcha.
I just want to point out, if you look at like my Google ads here, you can tell what I Google a lot is just Orlando Magic memorabilia. So that's awesome. So anyways, folks, Orlando's sitting there pretty in the 4th spot there, 18-39 right now. Top 4, they have a 48.1% chance of ending up in the top 4. They have a 12.5% chance of the number 1 pick overall. Looking down to Chicago, which right now that pick would convey to Orlando if this order holds true. They're 23-33. They have a 23.5% chance of a top 4 pick and the 5.3% chance at the number 1 overall pick. Luke, any last words before we sim this bad boy?
Orlando 1st, Chicago 6th. That's what I want.
Is that even physically possible? I think the best I've seen is the Magic at 1 and Chicago at 8.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
I think that might be the best possibility right now, but I really don't know. So
everybody
knows the rules.
I mean, through the duration of the season, I just wanted to get to that point. I didn't know we were predicting this.
I
see.
No,
I mean, obviously, 1st and 8th.
1st and 5th would be
Let's run it.
really, really optimal. So we'll run this. Everybody knows the rules. You get 1 sim. If you run more than 1, you don't get to share it with anybody. You can just keep it to yourself. Let's sim this lottery. Here we go. That's not great. So in this
That
sim,
hurts.
Orlando ended up 7th, and the Bulls pick ended up 9th, which would then convey to the Magic. So
I'm telling
this is
you,
the kind of stuff
Jonathan,
that I have nightmares about. I'm taking this helmet off.
Well, this is the thing. If they
Terrible.
get to 7 and they say the Orlando Magic, I am turning my TV off, and I'm probably not turning it back on until the first game of the season. That means I'm missing the draft. If the the Magic at 7th and the Bulls pick at 9th, what do? Do you package 7 and 9 and whatever else you need and get up to 4?
I think in this nightmare scenario, Luke, what you do is you package whatever you have to be able to get back into the top 4. So we're looking at like Sacramento, Oklahoma City, New Orleans. Are any of those teams going to be like super excited to part with a top 4 pick? No. But you package whatever you have to. If it's both of those picks plus the Chicago 2023 pick or the Denver 2025 pick, I don't know that our front office would do that. I doubt they would. I think I would, just because like at some point you're going to have too many young guys. But like you sold out for the last couple of months of the season. If this is what ends up happening, you have to find a way to try to move up at least into the top 5. And in that scenario, look at that. Oklahoma City ends up with 3, and they end up with 5. So with all the picks Oklahoma City is going to have, how many young guys did they want? So maybe they're willing to part with the 3rd or the 5th pick. Who knows? But that's a nightmare scenario. Just for our mental health, I'm going to sim this again. Orlando ended up 2nd. Chicago ended up 9th. I'm okay with that. That just goes to show you it's literally like 50-50 with the Magic ending up in the top 4. We'll do this again. Magic end up 6th. Chicago ends up 9th. Run it one more time. Orlando ends up 3. So it's literally like the fact that it's going to come down to a coin flip, Luke, to me is really like the worst thing. The fact that all of this pain and suffering is going to come down to a coin flip of whether or not we end up in the top 4.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to be stressed out from now until June 29th or whatever night the draft lottery is.
Well, what's stressing me out right now, Jonathan, is not really even so much like these Pistons, Rockets, definitely not really the Timberwolves game that much, or Timberwolves team. But OKC, the fact they've lost 10 straight, they're now 2 games up on the Magic, and they're down right now to the Wizards, so they're going to go to a game and a half up on the Magic. That's terrifying. Really. I mean, it's bad when Tankathon on like your last 10 games or streak or whatever it is, it says lost 10 next to OKC, and it's highlighted in neon green, meaning this is very good for tanking. This is great. And OKC has lost 10 straight. They're about to lose 11 straight. I don't know what their strength of schedule is, Jonathan, for the remainder of the year, but there's going to be a point where the Thunder could drop and be even worse than the Magic on the standings, which will be terrible. I don't need that in my life either.
So from what I understand, I believe the Oklahoma City Thunder have an easier strength of schedule than the Magic do. Yeah, so overall, Houston has the number 1 hardest strength of schedule. And actually, Oklahoma City has a harder strength of schedule than we do. They're 8th. We're 12th.
8th.
Minnesota is 15th. Cleveland is 17th. Detroit is 16th. So Oklahoma City is really a team that we need to look out for. We hope that we're just bad enough to stay ahead of them, and we're hoping now that Detroit is going to be just good enough to let us get ahead of them, and possibly they get above the Thunder at this point. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think it's with some type of foot or ankle injury. He's supposed to be out another 2 weeks, Luke. So
yeah, I mean their
2 weeks
current construction of their roster,
it's disgraceful.
Like
do you know what it reminds me of?
They're bad
at this point.
What?
So Josh Hall is out. Isaiah Roby is day-to-day. Lou Dort is day-to-day. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with the foot injury out at least 2 weeks. Mike Muscala is out. Al Horford, they said they're not playing him the rest of the season because he's too good and they want to get developmental minutes for their young guys. But this reminds me of what the Philadelphia Eagles did to the New York Giants, the last game of the season, up on the Redskins in the second half, and take Jalen Hurts out and put in, I forget the guy's freaking name. That's how terrible he was. And let the Redskins win that game, and I believe that won them the division, so the Redskins made the playoffs and screwed the Giants really out of a playoff spot. So this is kind of the reverse of that. You want them to be good so your team ends up worse. But, yeah, the Thunder aren't doing us any favors, and before tonight it didn't seem like the Pistons wanted to do us any favors. That game really should have wrapped up by now. I'm trying to pull up the score here. And, yeah, Detroit ended up winning that game 109-105. So good on Detroit. I don't know if Tankathon has updated this automatically quite yet. 17-40. So, yeah, we're still just a half game up on the Pistons. So we'll see what happens Tuesday versus Atlanta. I don't know when Detroit's next game is. I can't imagine they probably play tomorrow night. Maybe they on a back-to-back, but there's a chance tomorrow night. Atlanta's fighting for their playoff lives. You know, they want to end up, right around, 4th or 5th. That's still in play for them. So,
I mean, they're playing well right now,
we'll
too.
See what happens. Yeah, they absolutely are. So the Magic have a chance to lose tomorrow against Atlanta.
Yeah. The one thing that I want to look out for, Jonathan, is, the teams that we look at teams that have a really hard strength of schedule, right? You look at those games, but the Magic know better than anybody, especially that run they had, a few weeks ago, where the Magic go up against, star-studded teams and they just rest all their guys because they're like, oh, it's Orlando, we need a night off. I do wonder, as seeds kind of become more solidified, maybe some teams clinch the one spot, or they clinch home court advantage, which is most important to them. They have those top 4 spots in the playoffs. You do wonder that even those teams that have the strength of schedule, it's going to get crazy because they're going to have play teams that make their strength of schedule hard, but essentially make it easier because they're going to rest some guys, especially that final stretch, I think. So that'll be something to look out for too. So while OKC has a harder strength of schedule, who's to say that, they go up against whoever at the end of the year and they don't sit guys. Now, conversely, that can happen for the Magic too, where the Magic win a game against a good team, top of the line team, because they were sitting some guys out. So just kind of the unpredictability of the NBA, Jonathan. And I really don't know, which way it's going to go. But I hope that teams rest their players against, the OKCs of the world, the Pistons as well, T-Wolves, Rockets, all of them. Feel free, set your players. When you play against the Magic, though, I need everybody playing. I need everybody to play for the other team, and let's lose some games.
So before we get into the game summaries, Luke, let me just rob you of that hope. The Thunder played the Kings 3 times in their last 7 games.
Yeah.
They played the Kings 3 times in their last 7 games. I don't feel great about that. How does that make you feel?
Not better.
Not great. Yeah,
not better.
Exactly. All right. Let's get into these game summaries. So 102-97 loss at home to the Spurs on Monday. Magic shot just 5 of 20 from 3, 20 of 32 from the free throw line, and coughed up 15 turnovers in that game. Wednesday, a 115-106 win in Chicago against the Bulls. Magic out-rebound the Bulls 46-40, turned the ball over just 7 times, shoot 44% from the three-point line, and held as much as a 23-point lead in this game. This was the first time the Magic played the Bulls with Nikola Vucevic since the trade deadline. Vuce had 29 points, shot 11 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3, 11 rebounds. Same old Vucevic. Don't want to spend too much time on Vuce because it just seems like for the last month that's all we've done is talk about Vuce. But what was it like for you to see Vuce lined up against the boys in blue?
Well, you knew it looked for a while there that he was running away with the leading scorer on the Bulls. And then Levine went off. Ends up outscoring Vuce 30-29, and the Bulls inched closer in those final few minutes as a result. But it was weird. It wasn't as weird because I had already seen him play games in Bulls uniforms already in its entirety. So it wasn't that weird. I'm used to it now, for the most part, as much as anybody could be, I guess. But really, who I wanted to emphasize was Wendell Carter Jr. Like he played well, 8 of 16. He had a double-double, 19 and 12, 4 assists. It wasn't a Vooch stat line, but he did out-rebound Vooch for what it's worth. And he out-assisted Vooch as well with 3 more. He had 4 assists total. So I was impressed with Wendell Carter that night. I was impressed that the team won that night as well, despite only getting 9 points from Chuma on 10 shots. Ennis stepped up. MCW stepped up, shooting 50% from the field, which is great to see. Gary Harris was good as well. Gary Harris has a weird stat. He's shooting better from the 3-point line than from field goal for the Magic. Let's see if I have this pulled up. I do. So he's shooting 34% from the field, Gary Harris is. But he is also shooting 46% from 3 on 2.6 attempts. So take that for whatever you want to take it as. But that night, Gary Harris had a great game, and it was good to see. You don't want to see wins that much anymore, but they're going to happen. And if it's going to happen, I'd like to see the young guys showing out, especially Wendell. I was really happy for him to put on the show that he did and win against his former team that dealt him away previously.
So Friday night, a 113-102 loss to the Toronto Raptors in Tampa. I was at that game, and we can talk about that in a moment. Magic were down by as much as 18 in the fourth quarter. Paul Watson had a 20-point third quarter, including 6 made threes. He finished with 30 points on the game. The Magic did a good job of forcing 17 turnovers. Yeah, Carl Watson, exactly. We'll get to that, all right? But the Magic did a good job of forcing 17 turnovers, ended up shooting 23 of 34 from the free throw line, which down the stretch really could have been the difference. They let the Raptors shoot 50% from the floor, Luke, and 40% from 3. So, yes, Paul/Carl Watson, because I had never heard of this guy before, and the announcer at Amalie, when he was announcing the starting lineups, it sounded like he said Carl Watson. Carl, Paul, it kind of sounds the same over the PA. So, yes, I thought his name was Carl. I tweeted that out. I had never heard of the guy's name. I was like, this guy, Carl Watson, who I've never heard of, is killing the Magic. And people were like, it's Paul. I was like, exactly. I have no idea who this freaking guy is. But he was just destroying us, like just legitimately destroying us. He looked like Steph Curry out there. But so, yeah, Friday I decided that I was going to go down to Tampa, to Amalie Arena. I've seen plenty of Lightning games there. I was supposed to see a Magic Heat preseason game there years ago, but issues with the ice or whatever, there was condensation on the floor. They ended up canceling that preseason game. This is years and years ago, when Dwight was still there. But so I'm at the arena, and it's really cool. Like when you get there, the way everything is set up, you really feel like you're at a Raptors home game. But Luke, when I tell you that there was zero atmosphere, there was zero energy, like you could tell that this was not really a home game for either one.
Lots
of these
of crowd
teams.
noise.
The crowd noise was unbelievable. Like, it was louder in that building than it could possibly be with a packed house. Like, it was almost hurting my ears.
PA
was so
guy
much
was just like
piped
cranking
in
it.
noise all the way
Yeah.
to 10. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, even if we were in Toronto, this game would not be this loud. It's just not possible. How are these guys supposed to play and function through this? So, I mean, they're trying to fabricate that environment, but it was just a little bit too much.
Oh, it's fabricated.
Forget about the result of the game. It was just probably the least fun game that I've ever been to, just to be honest with you. I had a good time with the guys that I was with. I went with a buddy of mine and my stepbrother and another family member, but I had a good time with those guys, but the game itself was just not fun whatsoever. Like, people want to talk about the Amway and those games not always being that exciting. The Magic do a really good job of, like, the in-game entertainment and everything like that. Even if the product on the floor isn't that great, the Magic, and especially with Stuff and, you know, the 407 crew, whatever they're called now, they got rid of the Magic dancers. But those games are still fun to go to. In this game, I understand it's not their arena. It's not really a home game and everything like that, but it just was not very fun at all. If there's ever an expansion, I would be absolutely shocked if Tampa got a team, because you would think, and I saw all of these articles at the beginning of the year when they said that the Toronto Raptors were going to play in Tampa, how Tampa was going to get behind this team, and it was going to be the hot ticket in town, and yada, yada, yada. Now, the Magic being there probably had a lot to do with that because there were more Magic fans than there were Toronto/Tampa Raptors fans, but just was not a good time. The highlight of my experience there was the Cuban sandwich that I got after the first quarter.
That was it. But that was a good sandwich, though.
Oh, dude. Bussin'. Capital Bussin apostrophe. Bussin'. I would 10 out of 10 recommend the Havana Nights Cuban. There's actually a Havana Nights not too far from me, which I think they are affiliated. So I'm actually going to have to hit that up because that was one of the best Cuban sandwiches I have ever had, Luke.
Huh.
Anyways, moving on. 114-110 loss to the Houston Rockets at home last night.
Great loss.
The Magic held. Great loss. Not really. We'll get to this. The Magic held a 12-point first half loss that was whittled down to 6 at the half. Houston shot 54% from the floor in the third quarter, holding the Magic to just 33% to outscore the Magic 32-18 to take an 8-point lead into the fourth quarter. Dwayne Bacon scored 14 points in the fourth quarter as he tried to help bring the Magic back. Down 5 with 28 seconds left, Cole Anthony hit a 3 to cut the lead to 2. Started fouling intentionally. Rockets hit the free throws the rest of the way, and the game was over, Luke. This is what I call a lose-lose. If you win the game, it hurts your draft lottery odds, and obviously that's not good. But to lose this game to this team the way that they did is in itself a loss. We'll talk about this in a second, the defensive drop-off that we've seen out of this team. But the way that this team, not just the Rockets game, but the way that they've been playing the last couple of weeks now, they're not getting better, Luke. And what you want to see out of the young guys now is you want to see the young guys getting better. You want to see the young guys improve because tank or no tank, Cade or Jalen or no Cade or Jalen, whoever, if the guys that we have now are not good and they are not capable of getting better, I don't think we're there yet, but there are some concerning signs. But if the guys that we have now are not good, this rebuild is not where we thought it was, 2 weeks ago or whatever. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. This team is not getting better lately. It's slightly concerning. Nothing to set your hair on fire about. But do you have an issue at all with what's going on right now?
Not really, because
let me read this to you. Just let me give you this one stat really quickly. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. First 4 games after the trade deadline, Magic were 3rd in the league in defensive rating. Since then, they are dead last, Luke, in the entire league. That's a little concerning. When I read that, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So the angle that I'll take on this, just to pretty much play devil's advocate, because any way you slice it, that's concerning, is I'll say this. The Magic are currently 18-39, Jonathan. Players look at standings. Players know this is tank mode. We can take some defensive possessions off. In fact, we can probably take the whole game off if we take it off together.
What?
So
this man's going.
This is what I'm saying.
Devil's advocate.
That's what I'm saying, though, is because defense isn't fun. Unless you're Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba, defense isn't fun. There are guys in the league who will tell you defense is my favorite part. That's because, Jonathan, they can't play offense. So, Draymond Green. And so all that to say, I think that there is just there's not negativity. There's just there's margin, right? They know that they can lose games, and the organization won't get mad at them. Cliff might, but the organization is not going to get mad at them for slacking off and losing. I shouldn't say slack off because the organization probably would be. However, if it equals a loss, that's a win. For the draft lottery night, that's a win. So all that to say, I'm just wondering if these young guys are just kind of they're getting a little comfortable, right? They come in from the trade, RJ, Wendell, all those guys, Gary Harris, whatever, when he finally came back, But at the start, like you said, they did well after the trade deadline defensively. They were wanting to impress Cliff. They were wanting to say, "See, coach, I got it." But then they started understanding and getting comfortable with the fact that this team is bad. They're going to be bad. People want them to lose. Fans want them to lose. Let's take a little possession off. Not many NBA players, especially young guys, are going to take an offensive possession off, which is why the Magic have scored over 100 in their last 3 games. So I just think that could be a part of it. They're human. They're kids. They could know, I can conserve energy for the offensive end if I just don't play much defense. That's my theory. And yes, hear me say this. It is concerning. But also hear me say this. They know they're tanking. And they know there's some leeway there.
So don't take this the wrong way. Do you believe a word that you just said?
I believe a little bit of it, yes. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Because this is my thing. You look at guys like Gary Harris, who just got traded from the Nuggets. He was in a position to potentially play for a title this year. He's been traded away. He's definitely looking to prove himself. Defense or not fun or whatever. Wendell Carter Jr. being traded away from the Bulls, that guy, even in losses, could not convince me that he's not trying to prove himself and everything like that. Mo Bamba, if that dude's not trying to prove himself, he needs to be gone yesterday because he has nothing to do but prove himself. Cole Anthony went 2 months without playing basketball. I don't believe that dude is going to be sandbagging it whatsoever. I just think that this team isn't very good right now. They are young. For whatever reason, we haven't gotten to the point where they're like fully buying into what Clifford is selling. Like in the 2018-2019 season, we kind of saw everybody buy in, and then the team just took off defensively. A lot of that was due to Jonathan Isaac. We can debate that another day. But to me, it is concerning that at this point, so the last 5 games in a row, Luke, the Magic have let teams shoot at least 40% from 3, at the very least. We've seen some stuff like 45%, 47% in a couple of these games where we're absolutely just getting waxed. Now, I have felt like for a couple of years now, the Magic get into this habit of overhelping defensively, leaving their guys wide open for 3. The other team starts rotating the ball. They swing it to a guy that's wide open for 3, and then he just literally has a wide open 3. And that's what we're seeing. Guys seem to be overhelping, falling asleep on their guys. You talk about the other night, Paul Watson, Terrence Ross just completely falling asleep after the guy had hit like 3 or 4 threes and just forgetting that the guy's there, comes down back-to-back possessions, wide open corner threes. Like, what are we doing here? This guy is killing us. The last night against the Rockets, what was the young kid's name? Armani or Amani Cooper, was it? I forget the young man's name. Had never heard of him until last night. Steve Clifford was talking about the assistant coaches specifically talking about him.
Amani Brooks,
excuse me. Specifically talking about him prior to the game in their game plan that they needed to hone in on him. And he's another guy getting wide open looks at 3 last night. So things like that, to me, are slightly concerning. Again, we have a bunch of young guys. I think they'll be able to figure it out. I'm not hitting the panic button, but there's just some things that we're seeing, especially like a loss last night to a Houston Rockets team who is not good, right? But still allowing them to shoot 40% from the 3 when they're one of the worst teams in the league this year statistically at shooting the 3 ball. It's not great. I guess we can put it that way, but hopefully 15 games left, we can turn things around defensively. I think this team is going to struggle to score for the rest of the year. They just don't have that guy right now that's just going to go get a bucket anytime he wants it. But I'm glad to hear that we're both at least a little bit concerned by what's been happening with the defense. And do you think that over the next couple of weeks it's going to get any better? Or do you think that as they see the standings, they're going to start to see, we've got 8 or 9 games left to go, and then I'm going to be out in Cabo. I'm going to be in Hawaii, Ibiza, wherever I'm going for the offseason. When do you think this team realizes that the season is over and they start looking ahead to vacation? Because that seems to happen with every team at the end of the year when you know you have no shot at the playoffs.
Right. Well, it's the all-star game mentality, right? It's the I'm going to score more than you, but I'm not going to play defense. And that is where I do think that, yes, this team sucks. Like, this team is not good. However, they are fun. They are fun, but they do suck. So all that to say, I mean, it just goes back to my point. I do think that you couple the fact that they suck to the fact that I understand what you're saying about, like, Gary Harris trying to prove himself. Wendell Carter is always going to be busting his butt, whatever. There are still guys on the roster that are going to just kind of throw their hands up and say, I'm playing offense tonight. Players do that. Unfortunately, the all-star game mentality doesn't work for teams that are terrible. And the Magic are terrible. So, yes, you couple that with the fact that they're going to slack off a little bit. You get closer to the end of the season, guys are going to just be trying to put up 20, 30 points in a game, get their career highs maybe. R.J. Hampton going to continue to try to get his shot down, which he should. Cole Anthony going to continue to try to get in his rhythm, most importantly on offense. These guys know they can turn it on defensively when they want to turn it on. Offensively, they need to get in a rhythm. Cole needs to end this season on a high note. Going 5 of 14 isn't going to cut it. So him, RJ, would love to see Gary Harris get in a rhythm and boost his field goal percentage and take some more threes and see if we can keep his three-point percentage around where it is right now. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to the point where they don't really care anymore. And guess what? Fans aren't going to care because they're just going to be looking at box scores. They're not even going to watch games anymore, and they're going to just hope that there's an L next to the Magic every night that they play a game for the rest of the year.
What I will say, last thing about this Houston Rockets game is, like, the last 3 minutes of that game, I don't think I've ever seen two teams that were so, like, disinterested with trying to win that game.
Yeah.
Like, we saw RJ miss a three. I think it was DJ Wilson missed, like, a pretty makeable layup. Then we see a couple of minutes later, Gary Harris, I think there was probably, like, 10 or 12 seconds left on the shot clock, just takes a corner three, which he's been shooting the ball pretty well, so I understand. And then, like, he's, like, driving to the rim and loses the ball and tries to save it as he's, like, diving out of bounds to try to tap it to the corner. I think it was Chuma or Cole in the corner. And I was like, what is happening here? This is, like, strictly, like, Shaq'd in a full basketball at this point. Those two teams were just trying to out-tank each other the last couple of minutes there. And then Christian Wood makes a runner over Wendell Carter Jr., and basically, the game was really over from that point. Again, Cole hits a three to cut it to 2, and then Kelly Olynyk hit some free throws. I think Cole Anthony made another layup. Rockets made some more free throws, and then the game was over from there. But anyways, Luke, we're going to switch gears here a little bit, back towards the draft and the draft lottery and everything like that. So Cade Cunningham, widely regarded by most people that you ask out there, is like the unanimous number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. People are rightfully excited about the potential of the Magic drafting Cade Cunningham. If they end up in the top 3, they end up number 1 overall, is what it's going to look like it's going to take to get him. But recently, the other day, on his Instagram Live, Cade Cunningham is hanging with his boys, and they're like, "Hey, where you at?" People are on Instagram are asking, "Where you at? Where you at?" He's like, "I'm in my city. This is my city." He's like, I'm in Orlando. So he's claiming that Orlando is his city. So Cade Cunningham played at Montverde Academy, then went on to play at Oklahoma State. But he's claiming, Luke, that Orlando is his city. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, what did you think about Cade's claim that Orlando is his city, and are you reading into that whatsoever?
I mean, maybe, right? I mean, players have preferred destinations. If Cade truthfully likes Orlando, and it sounds like he does, it means he probably doesn't like snow that much. He doesn't like the cold that much. Jonathan, he doesn't want to go to Minnesota. He doesn't want to go to Detroit. He might be okay with Houston, but all that to say, if Orlando is truthfully his city, maybe he prefers, in the hopes, Orlando's gonna get that top pick. I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised if interviews start happening more as we get closer to lottery night and draft night, and you hear Cade saying, like, yeah, I would love to go to Orlando. People are going to ask him that, right? Especially if the Magic get the number 1 pick in the lottery. They'll be asking him all about Orlando, and he'll be able to talk about it, and I'm sure we'll find out the most if that happens. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, taking it at face value. Cade Cunningham wouldn't mind being in Orlando, wouldn't mind maybe donning a Magic jersey.
So I'm glad that you brought up those points because that is exactly the angle that I was taking, looking at this, hearing what he's saying. When I start looking at the top of the draft lottery simulator right now, you look at Minnesota, Houston, Detroit, Orlando, Oklahoma City, Cleveland. Like Orlando, in my opinion, should be the preferred destination. First of all, obviously look at weather, right? Like Orlando, Houston are definitely top 2 in that regard. Who wants to play in Minnesota or Detroit? Oklahoma City gets a little bit cold. Cleveland,
In the words of Joakim Noah.
Exactly. Do you go to Cleveland on vacation? No, you don't. I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength when it comes to Cleveland and Joakim Noah. But then when you start looking at like the basketball situation that he would enter into, Cade probably feels the same way that a lot of us feel about this young core of Orlando. And you talk about Cole Anthony, you talk about Chuma Okeke, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., all of these young guys. Cade is probably looking at that and says, you can plug me right into either that shooting guard or small forward position. I could share the ball with Markelle Fultz and with Cole Anthony or RJ Hampton. And when it's game time, when the game is on the line, the last 4 or 5 minutes, and we need a basket, I could be that guy to go and get the basket. When you talk about being drafted to a franchise and becoming the franchise guy, Cade gets drafted here, and he's automatically that. Like whatever guy you were to take at number 1 automatically becomes the franchise guy. You could argue that Cade, out of the top 4 or 5 guys that we talk about, Cade is probably the guy that is most ready for that from day one, to come in and don the Magic jersey and say, I'm here now, I'm the guy, let's get ready, let's go ahead and do this. When you start talking about Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns is already there, D'Angelo Russell is there, Anthony Edwards, he's just going to be another guy there. You talk about Houston, you could argue that Christian Wood is already going to be the guy there. Detroit, he would probably become the guy there, but they've got like a young Killian Hayes, they've got Jerian Grant. They don't have as much young talent as the Magic have. The climate isn't as good as what Florida has. You look at Oklahoma City, they've already got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've got a few other young guys. You look at Cleveland, it's Darius Garland, it's Colin Sexton. So for all of those reasons, Luke, I feel like Cade, if I'm Cade and I'm looking at everything, I'm honestly trying to be unbiased here. But if I'm looking at all the options, I'm like, Orlando is where I would want to end up.
Yeah, and like you said, you're unbiased, trying to be unbiased, but at the end of the day, it's pretty biased of a take. But I agree with you, especially mainly from the
spot the lie,
mainly from the weather standpoint. I definitely agree.
That's got to play into it.
You
can't.
Yeah.
If everything is the same, you're telling me Detroit or Orlando, like.
Right. The place that I could see him enjoying in terms of young talent and climate is Houston. Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate, John Wall, KPJ. Like, they've got some studs there in Houston. That would be a fun team to play for. Once they get their legs beneath them and they add a piece like that, who knows? So yeah, I do agree. Orlando's got to be up there, and especially with him claiming it is his city. I don't see why not. Why Cade wouldn't want to be in Orlando.
I'm getting Young Jeezy vibes. I put on for my city. On for my. Every high school basketball game that you went to
That's
in
true.
the beginning of the 2010s, that was played at every single one of those games. It doesn't matter what campus you were on. During the layup line and the warm-ups, that game was playing, without a doubt. So just to bring up, so we're talking about the draft and everything like that. We're talking about the potential number 1 overall pick. So today I saw Trevor Lawrence's recent pick. Recent tweet, He said, "Thank you, Jaguar fans. We really appreciate the wedding gifts and donations for charities of our choice. In addition to the donations, Marissa and I will be donating $20,000 to charities in Jacksonville. Thanks again. We hope to be a part of your community soon." This is a guy just coming out and saying it. I want to be the number 1 overall pick. I want to play for the Jags. Like, here we go. Maybe we see the same thing out of Cade. Who knows? Maybe he even says, you know what? I understand that Minnesota's got the first pick. Houston's got the second pick. Maybe another team has the third pick. Don't even bother picking. I don't want to play for your teams. I'm going to the Magic at 4. Maybe, probably not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But we can dream. Right, Luke?
We will continue to dream.
So another thing that we can dream about is our Top Shot accounts to the moon, Luke. So we wanted to give a Top Shot update. So go ahead and start us off with that.
Well, so the last time that I really talked Top Shot, I was holding on to an Anthony Davis. I got in the Seeing Stars Anthony Davis. I was panicking. I didn't know when to sell him. I'm really glad I sold him when I did. Wish I would have sold him sooner, honestly. But yeah, I think I ended up selling him for $220 or something, which isn't bad considering the fact that I paid. What did we pay for the Seeing Stars? I don't even remember. Was it $10?
$22, I think that pack might have been.
Yeah, so
I could be wrong.
I don't know. It was a very low amount compared to what I sold Anthony Davis for. That's for sure. So yeah, I sell Anthony Davis. Then from there, I see I got a little bit of money in the Top Shot account. So I start. I purchase some things. I sell some things. I've just kind of been testing out the markets, really, seeing how things go. I eyeball certain moments that I don't even have and just kind of see how they, climb or don't climb or fall. So, Jonathan, I think right now, let's see if I can get you my most prized possession right now. It's probably a Spencer Dinwiddie moment that I bought today. I don't have many that I hold near and dear to my heart right now. I have a Markelle dunk that costs like $10. But I do have a Spencer Dinwiddie, which I think he was like 50 or 60 or something. I got him recently because my new quest is to just get a bunch of Series 1 moments. I want to have Magic moments, Markelle, whoever it might be, Chuma. Eventually I'd like to get a Chuma. But right now it's kind of putting my eyes on Series 1s. Right now I've got an Al Horford Series 1, a Lou Williams Series 1, and then a Spencer Dinwiddie Series 1. And then along with that, I've got the Cole Anthony game winner with a really good serial number. It's 627 out of 35,000. That is a circulating card moment too, meaning it'll be made more of. That Markelle, and then I've got a Wendell Carter Jr., but it's his only moment, and it's from when he was in Chicago. So I wanted to get it just in case Wendell kind of comes into his own in Orlando, which it seems like he might. And his that Wendell stock goes up. I've also got a Seeing Stars Donovan Mitchell that I bought just in case the Jazz, who are the top team in the West, just in case the Jazz make a run in the postseason and Donovan Mitchell is the reason for it. Then I have his Seeing Stars, and hopefully that will go up. I am selling right now, though, my Al Horford and my Lou Williams, trying to sell them both so that I can get a return large enough to purchase a Markelle Fultz Series 1. Then, in turn, I would sell the Markelle Fultz dunk that I've got that just doesn't mean much.
So me, Luke, really what it comes down to is, as I've told my story on here before, I was lucky enough to get into a rare drop close to 2 months ago now. I ended up getting a a Dylan Brooks metallic gold limited edition that I think I bought that pack for I bought it for $100.
Was that a base? No, that wasn't a base pack.
No, it was a rare metallic gold limited edition. I flipped that for $900. So since then, I've used some of that money to buy some other moments, purchase, get into some of the other drops that I've been lucky enough to get in, which is I'm 3 for 25 at this point. It seems like something crazy like that. But I purchased some moments when the wave of Top Shot was really still on the way up. And since then, everybody knows the bubble has kind of popped. Just as the hype has kind of died down, as people have noticed that it's harder and harder to get into these drops, so it's not as many people flooding in, because it's even if you get in, if signups are active at the time, even if you get in, you might not be able to get into a drop. And if you don't get into a drop, the chances of you of making money from that it's really, really difficult. It's like the stock market, essentially. So just to run down some of these moments and what they're at now. So I purchased a Cole Anthony, his basically rookie moment, the first jump shot that he had against the Heat. I bought that for $509. Right now, the lowest ask is $200, so I've lost $309 on that. I purchased a Markelle Fultz three-pointer, the three-quarter court shot that he had at the buzzer against the Kings in the bubble. Purchased that for $270. Right now it's down to $105, so I've lost $165 on that. And that's really just how it's gone for me. So my whole strategy is purchasing Series 1 limited edition, anything that the serial and like the max circulation is less than 4,000. So I've got the Cole Anthony, which is to 4,000, the Markelle Fultz 3, which is to 1,500, a Markelle Fultz Dunk, which is to 2,986, an Aaron Gordon Dunk, which is to 3,999, the Chuma Okeke rookie card, which is to 4,000, a Mo Bamba Dunk, which is to 2,767, and the rest of the cards are just, $5 and $7 cards that I've picked up of like Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic, Evan Fournier, Terrence Ross, some of the cheaper cards. I purchased the Nikola Vucevic Seeing Stars. At one point, that was up to like almost $200. I ended up getting that for $30, so I was pretty happy about that, but that value has also kind of dropped off now. Some of these cards I'm going to totally be fine with holding on to for quite a while.
Yeah.
You and I have talked. What I'm really looking forward to is once the market becomes open to China, whether that's going to be on Top Shot's official release or if they'll officially or eventually open up the beta and start letting users from China in, just because as popular as the game is in China, that's just a huge market that they're going to come in and realize they missed out on some of these limited edition moments that they might not be able to get in packs anymore. So that's my goal, is to hold on to these low serial number limited edition cards that I have with the hopes that I can eventually make my money back.
Right.
That would be really nice. Making a profit would be great, but right now I'm really just going to be looking for new Orlando Magic moments that come out. Like you have the Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter, not in a Magic uniform, doesn't really get me going. Like, I wouldn't be excited to have that moment. But what I would be excited for would be like a Wendell Carter, like his first moment in a Magic jersey. I'll be super excited for that. I'm willing to sell one of my kids to get Jonathan Isaac's first moment whenever that debuts on the Top Shot Marketplace or it comes out in packs or whatever.
Yeah.
Not really, but that's another moment that I'll be really excited for.
Yeah.
If we get a Cade Cunningham or a Jalen Green,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be all over that next year, and it's going to be super hard to come by, but I'll be excited for those moments as well.
Yeah, so before we move on, we're coming up on an hour here, but I wanted to give a quick Top Shot tip. So the tip that I want to give is there's a lot of people who have either only gotten into the base pack drops, for the $10 or whatever it might have been. I've gotten the Seeing Stars Anthony Davis. The thing I wish I would have done was sold him immediately. At the time, a lot of people didn't know how a market would behave. So people were telling me, hold on to it, hold on to it, hold on to it. If I could turn back time here, I would go sell AD immediately when the market opened. I probably could have gotten $500, $600 for it. Like I said, I ended up getting like $260 or something. But then I learned my lesson, and I profited, and this is the tip. If you get in a pack drop for a Cool Cats drop, a Seeing Stars, All-Star, whatever special kind of drop that they might have that's not a base pack, basically anything over $10, you're going to have one moment that's special. I got a Chris Paul Cool Cats moment, which was the best Cool Cats player to get in this last drop, and immediately sold him for $92. You look at the market right now, Jonathan, he is selling lowest asking price $35. When I sold him for $92, it was because I brought down the lowest ask from $93 to $92, sold him immediately, played the market quick, got my money, got out. No sentimental value of holding on to CP3 anyway. Cool card, but $92 is more valuable to me than the sentimental value of having a Cool Cat special edition Chris Paul that goes up to 20,000, series number, mint number. So that's my tip. You get a cool card, you get a special card, sell it immediately unless you have a sentimental value to it. Then don't. But yeah, you're going to see the biggest value as if, right now as the market behaves, that seems to be the trend. Most valuable right at the drop when people didn't get in the drop and they are just kind of having nostalgia and want to get that moment that they didn't get because they didn't get in the drop.
So that's definitely going to be true right after drops.
Yeah.
Like if you don't plan on holding on to that card for a long time and you're like, oh, maybe I can make more money in 2 or 3 days from now, that's probably not going to
Even
be the
a
case.
week.
If you're looking to get your money back quickly, you want to sell that card the moment that you get it in most cases. That's going to be your best bet at making 9, 10x what you paid for the price of the pack.
Yeah.
However, you sold that Chris Paul for $92. Who's to say that in a year or two that Chris Paul card might not be worth $200-$300? You just don't know. Nobody knows how this is going to go. But like myself, my plan is to hold on to some of these cards as long as I need to. At this point, I'm really just trying to recoup what I put into the cards. But again, with these other markets that are going to be coming into play, and as time goes on, that's how it works with physical cards. More time that goes on, because the scarcity, people are just going to get some of these cards and hold on to them and never sell them. Moments, I keep calling them cards, but you guys know what I mean. But yeah, if you're looking to get your money back in the near future, right away is going to be your best bet. Other than that, I'm going to be holding on to some of these and hoping, there's not any guarantee, but hoping that, the next year, 2, maybe 5 years, whatever ends up happening with these guys, like if you would have got a LeBron James rookie card not 20, it's almost 20 years ago now, but 15 years ago or whatever, you probably could have got it for, around $100 or $200. Now, if it's like a PSA graded 10 LeBron James rookie card, upper deck or whatever the most popular variant of that is, you're getting a few $1,000s for that card. So you just never know what's going to happen with some of these guys. But that's Top Shot, and we're going to be idiots waiting for the next drop, even though we're not going to get it. Like that last drop on the Holo Pack, there's 30 people in the group chat that we're in, Luke, and what, dude, like 1 or 2 guys get into that?
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, oh no, I'm 233,000. Oh, I'm 195,000. Like, it was just no shot. And I think we had 1 or 2 guys that was lucky enough to get into that drop. And we're talking about for a $1,000 drop. Like, absolutely ridiculous. The worst part of that were the requirements, where we've seen other drops that are like, oh, you need 3 moments to get in. You need 5 moments to get in. This was like, you need 15 moments to get into this drop. And I was sitting there at freaking 14. Like, right. Thanks for nothing, Dapper. You went from 5 to 15. There was no incremental increase that we could have seen a increase of that coming. But anyways, Luke, anything left on Top Shot before we talk about the next week of games for the Magic?
Nope. That's it from me. Let's get into these next few games here.
All right, Tuesday at Atlanta. Atlanta is currently 31-26. They're 4th in the Eastern Conference. Thursday versus the Pelicans, they're currently 25-32, 11th in the West. They are 3 games out of the play-in game, so they're going to be trying to win games. And then Sunday versus Indiana, they're 26-30, 9th in the East. They just lost Miles Turner indefinitely with a toe injury, but they are going to be trying to stay out of the play-in game if they can help it, try to get back maybe into the 7th or 5th spot there, as standings are still kind of all over the place. So we'll see what happens with the Pacers. But the good thing is, Luke, I feel like each of these teams this week are going to be trying to win, where the last couple of weeks that might not have been the case for the Magic. But this week, I think for the Magic to win, they're going to have to play pretty good basketball. What do you think?
Yeah, you're going to have to play good basketball. Miles Turner, I know it's indefinitely, but did they say anything else in terms of a time span that you've seen anywhere for him?
I haven't seen anything at all. What I heard, it sounded like some type of tear in the soft tissue in his foot. So
he's out.
I'm sure they're hoping that if he comes back for the playoffs, maybe he could play. But something like that, I'm going to pull it up right now and see what the injury report actually is for Miles Turner. But you got to think they'll probably be without him the rest of the season.
I'll say the Magic win a game they shouldn't this week. Magic shouldn't win any of these games, but I'm going to say they win one. I think they'll go 1-2. I think that win will probably come to Indiana, and I'll say that they go 1-2. They start out 0-2 and they win the last one of the week.
So this says Turner is out indefinitely after suffering a partial tear of the plantar plate in the great toe of his right foot. So great toe, I'm guessing, is big toe. That sounds painful.
Sound good. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound good at all. So probably a good chance that we see the Pacers Sunday without Miles Turner. I will say if a win is going to come this week, I think it probably comes against the Pacers. Atlanta has been playing pretty well. New Orleans is literally fighting for their lives right now. And Indiana, it's just going to be interesting to see how they bounce back. I'm going to say the Magic go 0-3 just because, especially the last week, we haven't really seen much out of this team that makes me feel good about them winning on any night, no matter who they're playing. I mean, they just lost to arguably the worst team in the league in the Houston Rockets, who have now won like 3 games or 4 games out of their last 36. So forgive me if I'm not overly optimistic about the Magic getting a win this week, but we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here, Luke. 15 games left. Got games still against the Pistons and the Timberwolves. It's coming down here as far as where we're going to end up in the lottery. So someone asked me today if the Magic season was really over, and I said every loss counts, so not yet.
And for those of you guys listening that also follow us on Twitter at Six Man Show, which is where you can find us everywhere, I'm going to be continually trying to in the morning put out a lottery watch, if you will, and kind of saying who plays that night and how many games up or down are they on the Magic. So come along with us there and watch those, because it's nice to know. I know that's what I do every day. I just look and see, not only are the Magic playing tonight, but are, those teams that are around them in the standings. Like, when you guys are hearing this, the Magic play the Hawks tonight, but also the Timberwolves play the Kings. So those are 2 bad teams. And if the T-Wolves can lose, that'd be great, especially if we just need those guys, the guys that are below us, to lose even more, especially if OKC decides to continue losing. So that we are bottom 4 at the worst and not bottom 5. So I will be tweeting that out probably every morning now.
So Oklahoma City is about to lose to Washington, so that's something we still have to keep an eye on. But then Oklahoma City plays Indiana on Wednesday. So Miles Turner is out. Domantas Sabonis missed the game tonight. He's day-to-day with some type of back issue. And then Jeremy Lamb with a knee issue. He's day-to-day right now as well. So if Jeremy Lamb, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner don't play Wednesday, maybe the Thunder are able to eke out a win. And right now we desperately need them to do that. So it's the next 3-4 weeks of the regular season is just going to be this nonstop. Like the bottom 4 or 5 teams just trying to juggle and see, okay, who's playing who? Are they going to be able to beat this team? Right. Are we going to be able to stay in the bottom 4 or everything like that? It's just really going to be madness, which just not great for your mental health, not great for your sleep, but it is what it is, Luke. We're going to continue to do this every single week. Like you said, you're going to be posting like the draft, the tank watch updates, the lottery updates in the mornings. And yeah, we're just going to be doing a lot of scoreboard and standing and schedule and injury report watching the next month here. And then even after the regular season, Luke, like we still have a whole another month to go after that point before the draft lottery. I wish as soon as the regular season is over, like the next day, once you know where everyone's odds are going to be, like just get it over with so we don't have to wait. But anyways, Luke, anything else?
That's it for me.
All right, so one thing I wanted to bring up before we end the show here, so we're getting back to the Six Man Show merch. So the sixmanshow.com/shop, we have a new Big Choom tee, so the anomalous rookie. If you guys are able to check out that design, every little bit helps, so pick up that tee. I've got one coming my way. A few others have ordered theirs. I know Luke's going to have his coming his way pretty soon. Absolutely sick. Great design, really, really fresh tee. Great quality. The print on the T-shirt is great quality as well, so make sure that you guys check that out. But other than that, for Luke, this has been Jonathan. You guys are listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.